I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first company when I was 15, and now I'm about to graduate from Babson College.
Very nice.
I'm deeply passionate. Thank you. I am deeply passionate about tech startups. I am actually in the middle of building my fourth company right now. But I know in the future, I want to end up basically where you are, investing preferably my own money into startups that I think are super unique and hopefully as a full-time job.
Fantastic.
I know that the quickest or most typical way is to build a company, sell it for an enormous amount of money, obviously. But I realize I need to pay my bills until I have the traction to attract investors like you. So I'm looking at my graduation as an opportunity to find a 1 or 2 year stepping stone that will truly make me a better entrepreneur.
Great.
I've been thinking a lot about going to do associate or honestly any work for a VC firm instead of a typical Apple, Facebook, Google job. But I've gotten advice from other investors and entrepreneurs who, are obviously very successful as well. They basically have advised me to either join some sort of pre-seed where I'd have a lot of impact, or to join a Series B to D growth stage company where, they're growing exponentially, where I can learn. But I'm really having trouble, a hard time rather, weighing my impact at a company versus learning from the companies that are growing exponentially with or without me. So my question is this, is if you were to give advice to young Jason, who is about to graduate college in 2019, what would you recommend he prioritize in terms of a first career?
Great question. So when I was coming up in New York, I had a consulting gig for Fred Wilson and Jerry Colonna with their Acme Ventures, which later became Flatiron Partners. And I was writing coverage for them at the age of 24 or 25 about startups. And instead of going into venture at that time, when I was 24, 25, I went into the media business because I had a passion for magazines. Looking back on it, it would have been better for me to go venture in terms of probably net worth. But I loved magazines. I liked media. And so I don't regret it. It kind of made me famous to have my own magazine in New York. I got a lot of press. So I try not to overthink these things of what I would change in my career. I kind of like being a venture capitalist right now. I liked being a magazine publisher and editor back then. For you, number one, thanks for being a capitalist. Thanks for creating wealth and jobs in the world. Thanks for not being a socialist who wants a handout. I'm just going to start off right there with triggering all the libs who want to, believe that it can't be done. You can, make a great future for yourself, but it requires you having a skill. And so, listen, you got a great college you're coming out of. That helps on the margins, right? You can't be a schmuck and go to Babson. I don't think that's possible. And you've started some companies. So the real question is, are you more passionate about starting companies? Do you have a company that you really need to see in the world manifest itself? Or are you more passionate about maybe investing, right? Or do you just want to invest because you want to be rich? If you really have that passion for investing, I think the hack today, I'm going to give you like 3 hacks. The first hack is startups are about growth, right? Startups are not about just building a world-class product anymore. It used to be like we were kind of in the startup game, seeing if we could build a product to see if it existed in the world, but that has left the station now. Like everybody can make a great world-class product. The secrets are all out there. If you just go online, you can learn how to make a great app, learn how to make a great service. So really, and to do it cheaper, in fact. So what is left is growth. So if I were to pick one skill for you, it would be being a director of growth or a vice president of growth or a growth hacker. Just any way for you to be able to say, I was at this startup and then I left for this startup and I handled growth. I made the register ring. I made the number of users go up. I learned all these techniques because what people are looking for in venture capitalists right now and investors are investors who can unlock those secrets, those techniques, and get around a table and figure out how to grow a startup. I recently wrote a blog post over at Calacanis.com about the one way to guarantee you're going to get funded forever. And that is if you double or triple revenue every year. If you double revenue, really 6 months, if you double revenue every 6 months, you triple it every 12 months, you will get unlimited funding. If you're one of the people who can enable a startup to do that, you are invaluable. Invaluable. And that is the skill that you really want to have, is that ability to make things grow. So that's what I would suggest for you, is to figure out how to make things grow. Getting like a job as an analyst at a venture firm, it's kind of hard. You can take a shot at it. Those positions are hard to get, but you might get one. It's just very, very difficult. And I think a lot of the founders who want money from investors today will look around the table and say, okay, the partners in your firm, have any of them built anything? And if you look at a firm like Andreessen Horowitz, they just hired a friend of mine, David Ulevich, who built a company for 10 years or more, and now he's a partner there. So and I was talking to a founder last night who was like, hey, do you think I should take money from Andreessen Horowitz? I was like, well, what's the partner? I'm not sure. And I was just counseling them on stuff. And he mentioned it was David Ulevich. And I said, yeah, well, he built this company. And the founder was like, oh, I love that company. Oh, yeah, no, I could see myself working with them. So that's your first hack, is get into growth. A second potential hack to get into this might be to look at investors out there and see if you could become their analyst chief of staff, and to prove it to them and say to them, hey, I know, I'm going to pick somebody, Cyan Bannister at Founders Fund. Hey, Cyan, I'm a huge fan. I know you invested in Uber, and I know you recently invested in the company Density. I did some research for you, and I found these 6 potential competitors for Density, and I found these 6 different opportunities, and I summarized it for you in this Google Doc. I would like to do this for you every day. You find an opportunity, I write coverage for you, and here's how I did it. And you can look up the YouTube deal memo that Roelof Botha wrote at Sequoia. Just Google that, Roelof Botha, B-O-T-H-A, and YouTube deal memo. And when you read that, you could just start writing those and sending them to people. Now what you're doing is you're showing investors, instead of asking for the job and saying, trust me, I can do it, you're saying, here I am doing the job. Look at the work product. Here it is. I did it. And that shows hustle, and it shows dexterity that you can actually do it. So those are my number one and my number 2 for you. Spend 2 or 3 years doing growth at startups. Go to every accelerator you can think of, Techstars, Y Combinator, Launch Accelerator. Look at the companies coming out of those great programs. Pick one that you think you love and email the founder and say, I want to work on growth. I'll work for any dollar amount. Doesn't matter. I want to help you grow the company. I'm looking to get my break here. I'll learn on the job. And the second is to just write coverage of companies, et cetera, and email it to somebody. If you were, instead of calling me and talking about this, if you had sent me an email that said, Jason, I wrote coverage of all the CafeX competitors I could find and all of the com.com opportunities I could find, and here's my analysis, and I read it, and it was good analysis, I'd be like, maybe I should hire this kid, right? So those are my 2 ideas for you.